The next thing we're going to talk about is some of the cooler stuff. So we've got the framework down. Now we're going to get into the design composition and the true principles of design, where you can really start manipulating your, it sounds bad, but manipulating your viewers and get them to have emotions and act certain ways and look certain ways. And the way that you weave these elements and principles together for intentional purposes actually works to create um, the emotional connection. And that's the overall goal. And it not just have a place you can go, a place you want to go, and a place that speaks to you and speaks to your soul and says, this is, man, this is a place I want to hang out. So let me share screen again. Or is it still sharing? I don't. Is it the design composition? Is it still up, or did I stop sharing? I'm not even sure.
It's
It
still
is
up.
still up. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. I've got multiple screens, so I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. All right. Design composition. We look at contrast, emphasis, rhythm, movement, unity. There we go. The different pieces, and then I'm actually going to include one of the advanced design principles that I teach on too, is sort of a bonus one of this one of integrations. It's sort of a bridge between the basics and the advanced, and it's a key piece of a good design. So I'll include that too. Contrast, first of the principles of design that allows you to build off your framework. So, and why are there some spaces that make you catch your breath? They're striking, yet they still fit together. Other spaces are just kind of, it's fine. Contrast is often one of the elements that makes a space just go, that's the wow factor, that bam thing that's super cool. When used correctly, it's a foundational design principle. It adds huge visual interest to your design. And what contrast is the intentional use of differing or opposing elements in a design. It creates visual excitement and draws viewers' attention in. So everything isn't bland, everything isn't grayish and just different, different looks of the same thing, sides of the same coin. You have things that are completely different than each other, and they're noticeably different, and they are adjacent, and you really see it. They're different things you can contrast. This picture is in Canada. Gene Brown out in, I think, Western Canada did that. But what is he contrasting? Color. So it is white and black. So the interior pool of the finish is black, like onyx black. And the decking your pavement is a very, very light white color. So that intentional contrast of very different colors of the same that are adjacent and touching each other makes that pool stand out like a just boom. That's such a cool space. Another one that I think Tim got his last name, did I have that on here? It's in Oklahoma, I believe, or now he's in Colorado. But take what you expect and give it a twist. This is contrasting two things: styles, for one. It's a clean. The front is a clean, pretty decent little edge spillover pool, mirror pool, and the back is this rugged boulder natural style. But the tension between the two draws you in, and it makes you just look at it and stay there and go, these two, which one doesn't belong together, but they kind of do. They look good together, especially the reflections of the stone on top of because of the cleanness, the mirror of the pool. It works well. So I like the contrast used here is a pretty strong thing. Tim Wallace, that's it. He's an odd bird. So, and tension and drama. Reflective body of water throws in some completely unexpected. You normally wouldn't have that. It's cool. Danny weighing contrast the textures of the landscape against the smooth finish of the vertical wall here. Using the contrast of materials. Well, we've got that the palm trees with the cool textures of that, the materials, and then some smoothness. So it makes it interesting when they're touching each other in there. This is a Paulo Benedetti did this fountain years ago, and he's contrasting several things in a fairly tight space. We've got color contrast. You've got black and light together. You've got texture contrast, smooths between both the light and the black smooth against the light and the dark, the rough texture through there. You've got some size, contrast. You got big pieces, big slabs, small pieces coming through here. So lots of things are being contrasted, and it makes this a very interesting space. It can be used across all the elements and principles: line, shape, color, texture, space. Everything can be contrasted with each other. But the key to contrast, the elements must be opposite of each other. Black versus white, smooth versus rough, huge versus tiny. And they must be adjacent. They have to touch each other. You can't contrast something by putting a big shiny, metal sphere over on one side of the design, and then 15 feet over you do some rough textured basalt column. Those aren't they're too far apart. They have to be literally touching each other to make that contrast work. So in just because you use a few different elements and materials does not automatically mean you have contrast. It is the noticeable strong difference between the materials or between the size, whatever you're contrasting, that makes the contrast. So the noticeable strong difference of adjacent items. So those are the key terms I'm looking for.
Jason, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I say it just creates tension between the two opposites, and that tension is an attention grabber. It makes you try to always goes back to the brain trying to figure out what's going on. And the brain sees two different things, and it says those things probably shouldn't be next to each other, but they are. And why aren't they? And actually looks cool. It's creating a little bit of visual tension, which is a good thing. So okay. Go ahead, Chad.
If you can go back to the last slide. Mm-hmm. Sorry, one more. I want to point something out that is very distracting to me. And as far as if you're a designer, you should not allow your pool builders to get away with show them the segmental stuff instead of that being a nice smooth radius.
Oh yeah, you caught all that.
all I'm saying is this right here, these segments is laziness. So you have this beautiful design, and the crap, that's not good workmanship right there, and you shouldn't accept
on both sides. Yeah,
as a designer, if you see that out there, you should make them tear it out and redo it, because it's completely wrong, and it's very, with someone with an eye, it's very distracting. So you've designed this beautiful piece of artwork, and that right there ruins it.
And you see it all the time. You see it,
we see it all the time on radiuses.
I was trying to ignore that, but thanks for pointing it out.
I know. I just. No, it's true. If you're going on a job site, you shouldn't don't accept that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'll piggyback on that comment, because there's a lot of times, especially before I just became an ass, which I am now, I would I would shut up. And I don't want to hurt their feelings, or, whatever. I don't feel up to, the sub did this. I don't want to make them rip it out. What's it going to cost? All those things start coming in, especially when I was designing and not building. I was specifying and watching it go in and being the construction observation. It's my duty to call out on that for the homeowner's benefit. But when I was younger and didn't do it, I didn't do it. And there are times in the end that you look at it and it misses the mark, because I could have stopped it at the time, but I didn't have the guts or whatever's to stand up and say, no, this is not okay. So fix it.
And that's something that you should bring it up before, if it's a real curvy pool and you're using, say, travertine, and they're like, well, we just use the 1x1 travertine. Make sure they're sculpting it, and make sure that they're cutting it, and make sure that they're doing it correctly. Just ask the question before they start. Just something that when, a lot of times it's too late after the fact. So it's a good to say that. I just wanted to point that out.
Catch it at the front end or during, don't just
on the front end. Yeah. On the front end, it's just better just to say, hey, just want to make sure these are going to be smooth, radiused lines, not segmented, right?
And then when you go to a Danny Wayne job, you've got it perfect. So you can see
that's exactly right. And look at that. That's beautiful.
And Apollo, don't ever let Apollo show up on a job where
Yeah,
you're.
yeah,
You got that. Most of you probably don't know who Paulo Benedetti is. He's like he scares the shit out of everyone, but he's one of our really good friends. He's one of the best guys in the industry. But he knows more than anyone about all things pool related. He's a super good dude. But don't be on the wrong side of a courtroom with Paulo.
yeah.
Because he does expert witness for jobs everywhere. So. Another good contrast. This is one that I designed in Dallas years ago that Mike Nance ended up building, and it's a contrasting the smooth, the mirror pool with the rough stone, the water wall coming down. So you've got smooth and rough. You've got the different textures are coming in, and really it's the style as well, because you're thinking when you're looking at this from across the pool and you're seeing this white water wall spill in, it looks like it spills into the pool, but the pool doesn't ripple. The pool stays completely clean because it's an edge pool. It's a Lautner edge through here. So you have a mirror pool that should have water pouring into it, and it should be all broken. But it's going into this trough that you don't see because of the sight line. It's coming in off the house. And the two work together in a really unique and cool way. So I've done a lot of this style of contrast, where I'll have the big water wall with all the cool stuff going on, and a pool in front of it that's crystal smooth. Here's another Bianchi pool with some contrast. And point here, you can use contrast in multiple spaces in multiple ways across the design. What do you see here that's contrasted? We've got smooth water here. We've got the rough, that basalt that he likes to use so much of. So we've got smooth and rough through here. We've got one of the big ones to contrast color. We've got this green, heavy on the green, real evergreen trees right through here. And they haven't put a red wall behind it. So red and green, boom, big contrast, between the two. Really draws your attention. They're noticeably strong difference of adjacent items that are touching each other. So, and then you've also got a little bit of contrast of style as well. You've got the cleanness of this more, curvy contemporary pool contrasted immediately with the boulders and the cactus and the, everything. So you've got that more rugged style to the clean style, using the landscape as a contrasting element too. So cool ways to do that. I know this is in Vegas, where we stayed last year at the pool show, not this year, but at the Wynn, they've got the Lake of Dreams is a super cool thing. This wall is a water wall that's spilling down, similar to what I did with the one Nance built. But it's coming down, but the lake is smooth, crystal smooth. It's an edge, so it spills over all the edges right here, but the water wall is rough, and you hear the sound, and it should be rippling out, but it's not, because it goes into a hidden trough between the two. But it's also got color contrast, light to dark. It's coming in here, different parts you're playing in. So, and there's all kind of cool shows and things that happen. It's a really cool place to be. We didn't do that this time. That would have been fun to do again. So that's contrast, the noticeable strong difference between two adjacent things. So we're going to play off that some more in a little bit, but that's the main thing. Noticeable strong difference, adjacent things. Emphasis is different. So emphasis is used to draw viewers into one specific element design. Emphasis is about one thing and one thing only. And when you use emphasis as the design element, you are saying, look at me. This is what I want you to look at. This is the key thing in the design. There are several ways to achieve it. Dominance, make one element more important by making it larger, bigger, isolating it, saying this is the main thing. You can achieve it by focal points, but putting it down the center line of the space and says this is where everything is leading to the focal point space. But really, the main thing about emphasis is you can only use it once in a design space. If you're going to emphasize it, you can only do one. If you put two emphasis items, then neither of them are. So You can only have it once. If you try like something on the left is a big emphasis, something on the right, then neither are. So that's the key. This is one Jamie Scott up in I think he's Jersey or New England or somewhere up in that space. Um, he did the fire engine red tile spot. Boom. I mean, that's bold to say and put it out there and boom. What is I'm emphasizing? This is what I'm looking at. So everything else is natural and stone and feels, like the space, but that sticks out and says, look at me. This is what I want you to look at. Pay attention to this. Draws your attention. Except for that one other thing here that catches. It's only one time a year. Does anyone else see it?
Yep, it's the red tree up on the right.
There you go. Fall color.
Yep.
Pulling that out. So this then, what does that do? Draws your eye into the background, foreground, midground, background in that case. So that's a cool little piece. Of course, it's only in the fall, but still, it's playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. Similar here, and I'd use that statement a lot too. Playing chess. This is another Bianchi that's doing that. And to that say, I use that when you do something that's not a direct reaction. Like in this case, putting a tree and lighting it up makes you look at the tree, and that's playing checkers. That's what you expect. But what he's really doing is creating the reflection off of the smooth black finish mirror on the ground that's reflecting the piece there. That's playing chess. That's thinking 3 moves ahead of what's going to happen when you do that with the water space. And then this becomes the emphasis item, but it's fairly understated. Sometimes emphasis doesn't have to be just in your face, stare at you the whole time. It still is emphasis because you look at this and this is what it's all about, including the tile on the side that gives it sort of the frame that's happening. But the real show is the reflecting ironwood tree. Another one I like, this is Mike Light in Dallas area, first class pools, but several unique features, sculptural elements coming out of the house, all the different views from the house. When you draw your sight lines out, you can see that, boom, that's, from the living space of the house, coming right into this sculptural tree that's got a water feature. It's like a cherry blossom tree that has it rains basically. So I've seen this. I think Fox Terra does this a good bit, the same sculpture piece. And then that's surrounded by a fountain with some tile in it. And then that's got the circle and the square. So I mean, this whole thing just builds out and boom, this is a strong emphasis item. And this is really, I've seen that he's done this several times too, which is cool. Basically the concrete pour, and then he's using some aggregates in there that will waste away and be able to pull it out once it's set. And that's a really cool, I've got another picture of that later on, but it makes some striations in the concrete. Beautiful. So, strong emphasis. So emphasis, stated simply, is about one thing and one thing only, and there's nothing subtle about it. You're not trying to hide it. You're not trying to make people think, I'm not sure what that is. Emphasis is about, bam, there it is. And another, someone that's really good at emphasis is Randy Angel, also out of Dallas. He does some really unique stuff, especially with colors. He'll do stuff with color that just blows you away. I think I mentioned that the other day, but this is another one of his, and it's actually fairly simple. It kind of proves another point. Design doesn't have to be super expensive and over the top and massive. This is a backyard, and it's got a fence, and take a negative and make a positive. It's a fence. There's nothing super go. He kind of did some elements that tie in there. But he put up this panel behind there that instead of trying to make the fence just disappear like the rest of it is with plants, he went the reverse. And so I'm going to make that my emphasis point and, stare at you. And this is what you look at. It's like everything leads to that point instead of trying to hide it and make it go away and point at something else. Yeah. Interesting piece. So if is one thing and one thing only. Contrast is the noticeable strong difference between adjacent things. Emphasis is one thing and one thing only. Rhythm. No. Rhythm is another design element. And this is basically rhythm. When we talked about spatial theme and being consistent with what your spatial theme is, that is the combining the shapes that you want to do to produce an emotion with rhythm. And rhythm is about repeating the same thing over and 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 over again in a design. The same shape, the consistency of shape. This is what we did down in Destin. The rectilinear is the theme here, spatial theme. But you see how many rectangles can we put in one space? That was almost like an attempt here. So for the most part, rectangle. Everything is a rectangle. The spa is a rectangle. The edge is a rectangle. The thing's a rectangle here. The trees suck. The fountain's a rectangle. I did put a circle bowl in here, though, even though that was not really my call on that. There's something else I'll show in a minute in that space. But
there's also circle bar stools.
I'm getting to that. I know. So
I
fought them over that. I fought them over that.
Sorry about that.
I know. Yes, rather. Why are you doing? Well, they already had them pre-found in the shops. Like, I don't care.
That's what we do.
I know. It's what we do. Correct. But the Lautner edges, offsets, all these rectangles, everything else tying in, and then it's all rectangles over and over and over and over. That's rhythm. It's a repetition of similar elements or elements with the same characteristics. Always do odd numbers whenever you can. That's sort of a base design thing. Rule of the odd, rule of three. Design with groups of 3, 5, 7, et cetera, et cetera. Using rhythm keeps the design from feeling cluttered. And that's what a lot of spaces end up feeling like. It feels like you just got lots of shit that just keeps, being piled in and piled on top of each other. But if it all follows the same spatial theme and it's all rhythm, it's just rhythm over and over again, same stuff, then it feels like it falls into place in a very real way. Most easily identifiable through shape, squares, circles, rectangles, etc. So another one I did in Atlanta several years ago, everything is rectangles. Even the fireballs here, rectangles. Everything. So steppers going across, big fan of steppers. We'll get to that later too.
I have a question, maybe a second.
Yes.
Could the round fire bowls and the bar stools, could that be considered contrast, or does that not apply?
So contrast would be the noticeable strong difference between two adjacent things. So you're intentionally creating contrast. And you don't really want to intentionally create like the difference in the bar stools. It feels like it's a mistake.
Yeah.
When it's a bar stool, it would be a hard sell to sell that as contrast. No, I've been to. I'll admit, I've got a few of mine that I've coming up that I'll show. It's like that. But no, I wouldn't call that contrast is intentional. You really you want to see that difference between the two. So.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. There it goes. Rhythm is completely obvious. There's nothing subtle. You're not trying to mask the fact that you're using the same thing over and over again. You're just using it over and over again. It doesn't have to be rectangles, even though that's the easiest, and I fall into that as well. But in this case, all the steppers are circles that go across, and the artwork is circles, and the panels have these circular pieces to it. So it's rhythm equals consistency. A consistent repetition of parts ties the design together as one consistent whole in a way that's hard to even really overemphasize what it does. And you'll see, especially you start looking back at some of your designs, and you see that, you'll see things that is clean. The more consistent you are and tie it all in with the same shapes, the better the design is going to be. It almost always results in a better design.
Hey, Jason,
Yes.
Can you go back 2 slides to that pool that had that negative void space, kind of like the 911?
Right here. Uh-huh.
Yes. So earlier Tuesday, when you showed that picture, it was real tight on that spot, and I
Yeah.
couldn't understand it. I couldn't get there on Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
Looking at this,
Uh-huh.
this is an incredible design, Jason. Question.
Yes.
You got the ocean there in the back.
Uh-huh.
This is a Lautner edge, correct?
It's a lot. I know where you're going.
Yes, and
No,
yes,
I'll
it's
let you
not,
finish.
it's not
It is a
mirrors.
Lautner edge.
Explain this one to me. Why you did a Lautner edge?
It's a Lautner edge on the front and the sides. On the bay side, it's not.
Okay, I see that now. I see that.
So I can't zoom in here to show it. On the bay side, I have 2 acrylic panels right here and here.
Yep.
That are set an inch or so above water because you've got that breeze coming across.
Yep.
That helps to baffle the breeze, so it's not blowing the water everywhere. And then the same thing on the back right here. This is a fire pit low at a seating space. They can sit against the pool and look out over the bay with a built-in bench.
I love this pool, Jason, because you look at that. You look at the ocean in the background, and then you look over there where that negative space is, and it's hard for me to figure out where the pool is, where the ocean is over there on the left side where that negative space is.
Yeah, it kind of all just disappears.
I love the rippleness of the water in this pool. This is cool.
Yeah. This one was fun. There are some things that bothered me on it when it's like they did this line. This is the turf, not turf. This is the gravel, the beach pebble right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to turn and follow here and then tie it back in and do some things with the house.
I see that.
They just did it. It's like, nah, they just stopped it.
Yeah.
So, we're done. Whatever. So damn it. Now that just stops. What do I do there?
Right.
I know.
So, I didn't notice that until you pointed that out.
Yeah, why? I can't look at it and be like, damn. You were close, but you couldn't.
Yeah. See that now. Thank you, bud.
Sure enough. So let's look at this one. What is the rhythm? What's the rhythmic element used over and over and over again?
Rectangles.
I'm asking. Thank you. Rectangles. Where do you see rectangles? In the pool, in the spa, in the step, and even the steppers have inset like blue glass tile in there because they're working hard to get everything lined up as a rectangle and clean and through here. Even the tile pattern of the pool is, everything is. What isn't? Where do they screw it up?
On the spa.
Nope. Where do you see it in the spa though?
I see square on the spa.
Well, okay, square rectangle. Sorry, still same rectilinear. So that's fine.
The landscape bed on the right.
So you're kind of, I give a pass on that one. You've got a property line. You can't make your property line be square. So, and you're better off than not following the property line. So the landscape gives you a way to get back away from the weird property line. So no, that's not it.
Would be the steps next to the chairs.
That right here? No, that's good.
On the sun deck?
Could be the deck jets.
Who said that?
Me. Anyone.
I don't. Who's me?
I was just gonna say that deck jet.
Gerson.
Yep.
That's Gerson. That's what I thought.
No.
Look,
It was Greg. It was Greg, but I was just about to say deck jets.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, it was Greg. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Yeah. So they curved it. Everything else is straight, and that's the one thing they went because it was going to spray onto the chairs. But you notice that stuff. Like that's the stuff that keeps it. That's one thing. Everything else is lined up. You're seeing this consistent cleanness, like these columns that are going. Everything is right, and that one thing's at an angle, and it's going to throw the whole thing off. So
Because they centered the center one on the total length of the pool, not on the swim area.
Correct. Exactly right. If they had taken the deck jets and centered them from here to here, would have been perfect. Yes. But no, they centered it out here, and you can't have want it spraying on everyone when they're in the sun lounger and all that stuff. So why he did it, but little details matter. All right, this is one I screwed up. What did I screw up?
Bar stools.
Yeah, someone mentioned it earlier. Kind of stole the thunder on it. Yep, everything is a rectangle. Everything is rectilinear through here. The pool house is, everything.
And fire bowls. They're round.
Yeah, I didn't select those, but still, yes, they are round, correct. But
Jason, the bar top's round, two in the corner. So I mean,
boy, good job.
there you
I was
go.
just looking at that. Yeah, good job.
Although
Come on, man.
you don't really
That's a
want to
safety
have a
issue.
hard end on a bar top in a corner with a bunch of. This is Kid Rock's manager.
yeah.
There's some wild drinking parties going on here. Let's smooth that one off.
Don't
Is
script
that
the rhythm.
Ross's?
It
Is
is.
that Ross?
Yes, with that page. That's right. You're friends with Ross. That's right.
Yes, I want to see his Florida pool.
Well, I know he couldn't get it past. There's a wetland in his property and his property only that no one knew about. And
Oh no!
he's fighting them tooth and nail, and they're being difficult.
He'll get it done.
No, maybe so. I know.
No, I love this pool. I've been to this one.
Yeah, it's a place.
Bar top is rounded, Jason. The round bar stools don't bother me though.
They bother the hell out of me.
That's funny. There's a lot of people that say that. There's several people that have said that before. It's like it doesn't bother.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
I look at it and I think, I even have the A&A channel drains with the hidden pebble tops. Everything is
Right, you're right.
rectangle. And yes, we curved that because the corner. I didn't want anything rough and
Yeah.
Then you might as well. Hey, well then you might as well do the bar stools.
So then why just
I
make the whole
agree.
thing round?
Might
You know
as well
what?
do
Let's
it.
just make the whole
I
thing
mean,
round instead.
I agree too.
I know. There you go.
I like them.
Sure enough. And another, okay, I'll give you another one that's here too. The fire pit right here has a rounded end to it, but it was supposed to be the fire pit was supposed to be shaped like a musical note, like have a thing, like to have a tail on it, and they killed that afterwards.
That was too hard.
Yeah.
They said it was too.
Well, for some people, but whatever. So
Exactly.
Another rhythm, same thing over and over. And typically rectilinear, you get a lot of that, but it's a good rhythmic piece. Small pieces, taking it down to the pavers or the patio, everything in here except for the round bowl right there. So, but for the most part, all of it in the design is even outlining the turf areas and big, different shape, different sizes of the shapes play in. So it's been really cool. Okay.
I like that. I like that concrete texture, man. That's freaking. We need to do that. That's so cool.
I know this is really cool, and I've looked hard into how he did this because I love looking at jobs that come out, things that win awards, and
We could just do bad shotcrete, Jason. That's gonna be fine.
that's right. Well, just do some.
I know how to do that.
Some low strength shotcrete.
Just make
the
it
stuff out every so often.
Yeah,
Call
let
it
that steel stick out every once in a
It's decorative. I meant to do that. That's right.
That's right.
So no, this is really cool. I love this fountain, but it's a concrete, but he actually mixed in and layered in basically a sand product or a product that would then, after it's set, that would wash out or move
As
away.
he poured it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's poured, and then it leaves these striations and veining, which is super cool. So well done. But in fact, I like that so much that I called him on it and told him as much. But I'm gonna see if he's got one of my big jobs in Texas, not the A&M job, but the Wild Wild West one. It's in his wheelhouse, so I called him to see if he wants to bid on that one. So it's basically because of this picture. So this someone that thinks this way and sees this way and tries to be creative and just inherently says, hey, what if we try this and it comes out? That's someone I want to work with. So
But you had another picture from his jobs earlier.
yeah, it was similar. So it had that part and then it had some neat elements to it. So I like creative thinkers and builders that don't just, that's not what we do. things that
We've
push.
been doing this like this for since we started.
I know why you want me to change.
Well, we're not going to change it now.
So yeah, do something different. I mean, here, big lime green bowls and tying some stuff in, and so cool things that make you think differently. So I mean, look at it. I mean, you start taking, and I do this all the time. You start taking this picture apart. Okay, this catches your eye, but movement. We'll talk about movement. That's what we're doing. It's a sequence. So but basically, it's that your eye is following a sequence as it goes up to a space. So that instead of just doing a walkway that a lot of people would do, it's got this tight, it's drawing your eye, boom, 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 boom. That's cool. And then you go and you look at what these cool. I mean, that's these 3 planet rule of odd through there, centered on the window. That's a cool piece that someone thought through there. But then you start, what's the client? I mean, look in the house. You go in here, that's like an art piece, whatever that is. So you start saying, this is a cool client. That when he met this client, he probably had, this is something I can really push the envelope and do something out of the box. Because a cool client, you walk in the house, it's got this, artifact art piece in there, and these things, those are clients you don't give them a 20 by 40 garden style pool. You give them something badass and unique and creative and have fun with it. So, but back to movement. That's the properties of movement is the repetition of elements, just like rhythm, repeating elements. But the difference of movement is it's in a sequence. There is a pattern that you can detect in movement. There's not a pattern you can detect in rhythm. Rhythm is just everywhere repeated. Movement is when you see the same pattern. Boom, 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 dun, 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 like music. You can actually move where the viewer walks across there. This is an actual movement. You're moving along with the movement of the space, or it can be implied where it just is taking your eye and moving it down a line. So the elements repeated do not have to be identical. They can create movement in different ways. This is another Randy Angel job. So look at the movement here, and it can speed up and slow down. The sequence can, so it's slower. So boom, 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 boom. As you get towards the middle, boom, 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 boom. It's you can literally feel the musical pattern when you start looking at this visually. It's through here, and then you're repeating different objects. It's not the same thing over and over again. It's a planter, and then a shrub, a planter, and a shrub, planter, shrub. And then it changes to a tree and a raised planter, boom, 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 and they're tighter. And then it goes down to 5 and 3 and works in different ways. So that's movement skillfully done. It's more than just steppers. Although the steppers what most people do for movement. I do too, all the time. Danny Wang, this is the front yard of a house in LA area, and did a fountain to help kind of take you around the side. It's got this movement.
30 scuppers, Chase. 31.
I mean, I would do more, but whatever.
I know.
Just keep that up. How many we had? A light for each one. So
Oh my God.
yes. So, but boom, 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 boom. It's taking you around the corner at different speeds, and then you're there, and then getting to the entrance, and there's one more that sort of frames it and says, "Come in." So, another Danny, he's really good at this, but you can see the movement here, and there's a few other pictures of this one, but just from an overhead view, boom, boom, long, boom, boom, set, boom, boom. You're creating a sequence that takes you across the different planners and different things, and the wall itself has a wall, boom, it has a long spot in the columns, and you're contrasting the columns, which I have a picture for that. No, I don't. I do later. It's got the light and the dark and the smooth and the rough. So that's contrast. That's intentional. And I'll show that again.
You look at that one last night or on Tuesday?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So you really see that though when you start to understand that's their noticeable strong difference of adjacent items, and that's why they are noticeably strong different of items that are touching each other. And it's got movement along the way too.
How do you feel about that round spa? Because we were just discussing that too. I know it's Danny Wang and he's never wrong, but it is cool. But how do you feel about that?
So that's where once you know the rules, you know when you can break the rules and when it's right to break the rules. This, if I'm not mistaken, this one an acrylic one of his? A raised acrylic? I don't think this one may not be. I did this. The one that I went back and I showed the sight lines, and I'll show it again Tuesday. I'll show this, and I'll circle back to this thought. But I had the one that I was talking with Chad, where I had the sight line coming out the middle and another sight line coming out through there. I did the whole thing as a rectilinear layouts of the space, and a rectilinear spa, a sunken fire pit, everything rectilinear through the whole deal. And I got through with the sketch on it. And I was like, just missing something. What's it missing? I needed something of a pizzazz or a pop item. So I changed the spa to a round. And when I did that, boom, that became an emphasis item because it started to stand out. But then I wanted to I had something else in the background that I didn't want that just one. So I did in that case, I did like the band. They wanted a place for the band to play, so I did a curved front of the raised bandstand. So that became a second, and you try and do three to get in a circle. And then I did underneath the covered pavilion, I did like a big circled chandelier, overhead chandelier. So then I had three circles that played off each other within all of this rectilinear rhythm that went through. So this is where, if you're going for strictly of the rule of rhythm, yes, this breaks the rhythm, but it's done for a purpose. So I've done a good bit of that. Change the shape to create a bit of a pop or wow factor. So a lot of people get rhythm and movement confused. The biggest difference is rhythm doesn't move. Rhythm is repeating the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again in design. This is one that Chad and I did. Everything's rectangle. Look at all the different rectangle steppers the loungers the sun loungers everything's a rectangle here. All of it. That's rhythm. But there's nothing about it that's taking your eye all the way across here. Boom, look out this way. So that's rhythm. Movement is on the right, where you're standing here and your eye is automatically drawn because of the sequence of events that brings you out to the fire pit, the seating space. So that's the repetitive sequence. There's the difference. All right, last two that we're going to touch on are unity and then integration. Okay, we're good. So unity is much harder to define. Like unity, movement you can see, a rhythm you can pick apart. Contrast is intentional. Emphasis is there is nothing subtle. Boom, that's what you're supposed to look at. Unity is different. When you have a design that's really focused on unity, it's just all feels right in the world. Is probably the best way to say it. It's a measure of how the elements fit together and relate to each other in a seamless way. When you achieve unity in a design, it's a feeling of oneness, of just peace and harmony, and everything feels right. And there's several ways to create that. This is one, and I was here last January at Villa d'Este and talk about gorgeous place, amazing place. Has how many? I'm going to say 1,700 fountains, if that number seems right. And throughout the entire space, this was built in the 1600s, before any pump was ever invented. Every bit of this is gravity fed. So it's a gravity fountain that'll shoot 60 feet up in the air. So they rerouted a river to be able to run all of his fountains at the Cardinal d'Este. He had way too much money. So, but water and the theme is the unifying element. Every space in the Italian garden is based on how many water features and how they unify each other and tie it in as one element that becomes this thematic unity piece to it. This is another one of my favorites.
It's my favorite. Me too.
Every time. I know. So,
Yeah, I just look at it and it's amazing.
Jimmy Reed, every bit of this is glass tile from Jimmy Reed. No.
Who built it? Do you know?
A&N Pool. A&N, like, Pools Architects. So, no, not a big name. So,
Well,
I know. But 4 ways you can achieve unity or interconnectivity, where one element or shape connects various elements together. We'll show that in a minute, especially with landscape bed edges, a huge way that most pool guys don't have a clue about. Designers do. Theme, or a strong concept theme. I'm huge on doing some of that, weaving a theme throughout the design space. Architectural unity, how the outdoor face feels like an architectural extension of the home. And then finally is just to avoid emphasis. If you want something unified that just feels relaxed and all feels at peace, then don't have something that screams out at you and says, hey, 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 look at me. So if you avoid emphasis completely, you've, for the most part, achieved some version of unity. This is one that is an architectural unity, where you can't tell the house and the pool are one. Where does the pool end and the house begin? You couldn't have that house without this pool, and you couldn't have this pool without that house. They just are one extension of each other. It literally goes up in and underneath the patios and through the house and into the woods and around the
into grandma's house.
Just we go, correct. Yes. So all of the things tie in. So it is as unified as it can possibly be, and just a super sexy design. Interconnectivity is an easy one. A quick little example, and this is you'll see a lot of, especially in the project we'll do at the end of the class. This is something I see a lot of, where people will have a patio, and there'll be a pool, and there'll be a pergola, and there'll be a fire pit, and there'll be all these things that are out there, and they may have a consistent shape, but there's nothing that ties it together. They feel like they're just like someone threw some dice out or some things, and they just landed, and that's what you got. But if you take a unifying element, as in a line in this case, or a landscape bed edge is a huge one you can always do. Same stuff, tie it in, make all the edges come together, touch all the different pieces with that unifying shape that goes there, and then that makes the lawn turn into a sort of the reverse of a pool. So the green, the flip of it has its own shape. I love sculpted lawns, do tons of those. Let the landscape come into play and soften everything and green it up and make it feel that just that earthiness of it all. Architectural unity is something I play with a lot too, especially when I've got a house that's unique and character. So those modern houses are great, different ones, but you can make it feel like the vessel and the landscape and what's happening on the outside just feels like it's all part of the extension of the house. This is another one. Blur the line between inside and out. It feels like it's just all one piece. This is in Miami. I forget who this is. Maybe Van Bauer. It's either that or
It looks like Van Bauer.
I think it's Van Bauer's. This is in Dallas. So Tal, I think he was your old fraternity brother, if I'm not mistaken there, Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is architectural unity. So it's the pool is the cool house with a cool feature needed a cool pool to make it all tie together. It feels like it all connects as one and becomes one piece with the structure.
Pretty cool.
Huge. When you can do that, it's huge. This is one that Ben and Scott did design in Austin. I mean, look at that. Talk about supporting that pool with this. How cool is
I
that?
know, that's pretty cool. That's killer.
It's killer on all the levels. So, but the pool is the house. The house is the pool. The whole thing ties together as one. The landscape, the inside, the out. It's all one space. Architectural unity. And there's the view from.
Oh,
I know
that's ridiculous.
Oh, sexy as it gets. I know. No. In downtown Austin, in the distance. Similar, but in a different way. While the other architectural unities we're looking at is basically the pool's up against the house. Here's one that's getting architectural unity because of the shape.
The roof.
You got a house. Look at the roof line of this house. Well, they took that and mimicked it out here to the pool. It's an angular piece to it that's following what's happening with it. This feels like it's an extension of the house simply because of this angle following the angles of
With the acute angle, by the way.
with an acute angle.
Thank you, Chad. You stole it.
Yeah, there it is. That's right. But you know what? It needed it. So
Because of that.
it needs it. So that's that. This is where you break the rules for a reason. Correct. But imagine if this were just a rectangle pool coming out here and whatever. It's New England. It's what everyone does. No, that's cool. Okay. Oh, so one of the best ways that I like to use to describe Unity, especially from a theme or a concept, is looking at going to Orlando and looking at all the theme parks. And one of them here, the first one I ever really examined and really paid attention to that was all the different worlds in the Animal Kingdom park. Has everyone been to there? Yes. No.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. In cool space. Literally, I mean, it's like the Disney's Imagineers or their designers that they do. Like they spent like a year backpacking through Asia and Africa and taking notes and writing in journals and seeing exactly what it looks like and catching the details. And they brought all of those intricate details to their land in Florida they created. And it's down to the point, and the picture I think on the right shows the concrete that's there is intentionally bad for the walkways or for all the pavement. And it's all different mixes of concrete and some colors because that's what's in Asia. It's not a national standard driveway or pavement pattern. And when the concrete was wet, they rode bikes through the concrete and have these bike patterns through there because everyone rides bikes in Asia and Africa, so it's just the common way, and literally make it feel the level of detail that they take through all of the spaces they create is just incredible. So that's being unified through a very strong theme or concept theme. Another one, Jamie Scott up in Connecticut, I believe. Similar Unity, but understated. This is where it's a horse trough. The pool itself has nothing extravagant about it, but it's on a farm. There are horses. There's horse troughs everywhere, but it feels like the pool is the same thing. So it becomes an extension of the natural space that it's in. Still a concept pool. This is a Apollo design in its Unity because there's a lack of emphasis. For one, there's not one thing out here that says, "Hey, look at me," but it's also the colors throughout are different versions of grays and cools. It's a very consistent and unified and rhythmic design. I could also put this under rhythm as well, that it's using the same colors as its rhythmic element, but it's a space that he created. And another one that I've got in here as far as the Unity, and this is I'm big now on the Japanese gardens because I spent some time there and saw so many incredible how they're just tying the earth and the dry gardens come together, and how many all the things in the space just come together to feel right. And it's the Japanese use their gardens as an art form that is indescribable how that looks and ties in and works. You spend time in there, the contrast, but also how all the pieces sort of flow together and the rocks work, and it's a unity that's indescribable.